Um,
What is up, everyone?
what's up? We're talking about energy drinks and talking about Jake's got a good hookup.
Yes, but I can't tell any of you this
No,
because my hookup.
it's Jake's hookup.
But so I might be able to hook up the rest of Australia.
Yes.
You're willing to pay the markup on the limited edition energy drink fee.
Jake's new business coming soon.
Yeah.
Um, Congratulations from last weekend, my friend.
Thanks, man. Thank you.
Fucking, I can't
How'd
believe.
it feel up there?
Oh, here he is.
Oh,
Initially, quite scary.
There he is.
No.
Yo, yo.
He's in his
Oh,
oh,
Gold Coast spare room dungeon.
yep, that's it.
How are you, man?
Hayden fucking literally took my chair, so I'm sitting on a stool.
No. Are you staying there for the week?
Yeah, here till Tuesday.
Till Tuesday, and then what are you doing? Coming straight to Melbourne?
Straight to Melbourne, yep. And then off to back to Adelaide for the week for the ICN.
Yep.
And then straight off to fucking NZ.
Oh, damn.
Yeah, for their season. So
Do you have any clients over there as well?
yeah, two competing in the New Zealand regionals and nationals, yeah, with the IFBB.
It's exciting.
that's
Yeah,
huge.
it's crazy. And then off to Japan for the amateur O. Fuck.
Fuck.
I know
Busy
you.
schedule.
I might be going to that. Yeah, I'm not too sure on that one yet. We're gonna make
No,
it.
is Maya doing Vegas?
I hope not. But
Japan?
pardon?
Japan?
Well, we're going to go to America anyway. We're going to spend 2 weeks there.
Yeah.
She has to do the show. She has to do the show. But yeah, Japan is something that she's hopefully regardless of whether she does that show or not. Luckily it's at the beginning of the trip in America. We'll have a few weeks to kind of relax after that. She'll have a few weeks to kind of relax after that, and then if she's feeling pretty good when we get home, she's got another 4 or 5 weeks, and if she wants to kick on, then she'll do the pro show hopefully.
Yeah. I was gonna say fucking get her in the pro show, bro.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of Australians doing it as well. Morgan's doing it, Kareen's doing it, as far as I'm aware. Um, I think Kat's doing it as well, and I think
Did
maybe
she just
someone.
do one in?
Pardon?
I thought she just did the Japan show. The
Kat,
other.
she won it last year. She won a pro card there last year.
Yeah, but wasn't there another one just recently?
Yeah, there's one at the beginning of the year, but she didn't do that. She's in America at the moment.
Oh.
But yeah, fuck the man of the hour. How was here he is. How was
Hello.
how was your first time competing ever? Which is wild because I feel like to everyone in the industry, it probably feels like you've competed a million times just because you've been around the industry for so long. And I feel
Yeah.
like you've done a couple of preps now as well. And they've obviously eventuated tragically for a couple of them. Um, how did it feel to get up there for the first time?
Honestly, I probably still need like to the end of the season to process it just because it was, I mean, even on the day, I didn't get to talk to my family like after like I literally jumped off stage and was straight into the girls. Like within 15 minutes, I
Yeah.
was like down there trying to like make because I felt like a little bit bad because I'd been with the guys obviously because we were competing together,
Yeah.
four guys and three girls. And the girls kind of like were on their own for the most part of the early day, like in their own little section. And I just was like, as much as like I appreciate my family coming to support, it was like I'm straight in with them and making sure they were all comfortable and stress free and everything like that. So I still
Yeah.
haven't really kind of sat back and processed it, but I think the thing I've taken away most from it, and I said to Dean on our call like post show, I had always had the like notion that I was helping as a coach guide people to like a feeling or an emotion, whether or not they were successful like externally with the judging or
Yeah.
they were at their best. But to now have felt that myself, like even if I didn't get the reward for effort with the judging, which I haven't even fucking processed, was just like
Yeah.
what the fuck's going on type thing. But just knowing that I'm like I've felt that feeling that I've thought I knew, and it's just so much more than positive than what I even expected.
Yeah.
So now like I feel like that only makes me more passionate to help others feel that feeling again and more. And like I was already as passionate as I could possibly be. So that's kind of the biggest thing I've felt coming away from it. But personally, I think it just doesn't quite feel real, to be honest. Which it's an amateur show, it's an Adelaide show. Like, I get it, but it also like, I think I always was like, I just want to, look the way I want to look, and hopefully,
Yeah.
like that's a representation of everybody else that I've been able to put on stage. Like, I didn't want to not represent them at a high level, but then to have that kind of solidified by Brett and the judges and stuff like that was kind of just like, this is sick. They actually think I'm a good bodybuilder.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. It is a weird thing. I think like all of us can say as well, like the feeling of competing is pretty special, you know. Like regardless of the result or not, you know, that's obviously the cherry on top. And at the end of the day, I think you can let yourself get caught away with that sometimes as well. And you know, sometimes it feels like that's all that can matter. But I mean, I don't want to speak for Jake. He can say that as well. The weekend didn't go the way that he wanted it to go from a result standpoint, but I mean, Tom and Jake, like I said, can speak for this. But one thing that was cool to hear Jake say after the fact was actually I was really fucking happy with my look. You know what I mean? Like I looked at some pictures and I was like, that's fucking awesome. You know, like
Like,
Jake.
you look unrecognizable, and you looked good the first time you fucking got up there, but that was like, even that up close photo of your glutes, bro. Photos never do it justice. So for them to look like that on stage was fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I was definitely happy with the overall package that we brought. It was obviously just, some issues on the day that kind of let me down. And it is what it is. Like the whole process of prep, I fucking loved it the whole time. Like the good, the bad, the ugly. I enjoyed this prep tenfold more than I have any other prep.
Yeah.
I still have my sanity. I feel like I can still prep. I still have more in me to go. Like I don't feel like shit.
Yeah.
And achieving the look that you want to achieve on stage surpasses
Yeah.
any feeling of winning for sure. Like when I won Junior Mr. Australia like 2 years ago, I felt better not winning this show, knowing that I actually brought a look that I was happy with and, felt like displayed my physique the way it should have
Yeah.
um, over the placings for sure.
It's
Like,
so it's so funny because I feel like you can tell first timers this, and like you know you'll have first timers sometimes stressing about placings and stuff. Like we've all experienced that as well. But it's so hard to tell them that hey, look, if we nail this look, I promise you it's going to far outweigh any other feeling that you might have. Like
yeah,
yeah, if you hate your look, you could win the whole show, and I guarantee you you'll probably feel pretty shit about it.
You know about it looking back at photos.
Yeah,
Like, I'd rather come 10th and feel like I look amazing than come first and feel like I look like trash.
yeah,
exactly, man. You're the only one who knows. So
and
that's at the end of the day, that's
it's
all that
such
matters.
a real feeling as well. You know, like it really, really is, you know.
Yeah.
Um, it's a funny one. It's definitely a funny one to try and explain to clients as well, you know.
Yeah.
I
Um,
don't think, I was going to say, I don't think a placing should define your self-worth.
no,
I think a lot of people get stuck fixating on a placing that they're looking for, and they become so obsessed with an outcome that is beyond their control, because you've got another 10, 15, 20 people that are all doing the same thing that you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you're gunning for a placing, as you should be, like you should always be trying to place as high as you can possibly place. But if you're placing your self-worth on whether or not you place highly or not, then you're going to be disappointed more often than not. The numbers don't stack up very well in your favor.
I
Yeah.
think that also extends to the physique as well. Like if you place your identity around a physique and you've still got 10 years worth of growth, you're
yeah,
not going to be happy for that whole 10 years. Where if you can like identify the progression you've had to the point which you're now at and knowing you've still got more over the next X amount of years, and it's just so much more enjoyable in the process rather than just constantly feeling like shit until you do get to that point where you are C-bum, which you're never going to be, you know? So
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so
And
true.
if that was the case, like that the placing was all that mattered, there'd only be one person at each show that was fucking happy.
Mhm.
Every single outcome, like if you just have the outcome of the show as your metric of success,
Yeah.
your chances are very slim.
Yeah,
Very slim. There's one person who wins.
yeah, you're putting the odds are not in your favor at that point. How was it? coaching, what was that? Is that seven athletes at the show whilst also competing yourself? Like I know you mentioned there was part of you that obviously felt bad for the chicks a little bit because you were obviously spending so much time with the boys. But in terms of outside of the actual show day, in the days leading up where, you're yourself also, wanting to kind of relax a little bit to some extent. I know you are someone who is work first, even over all of this, which is like so good for all of your athletes as well. How was it managing that though? Like, was it a pretty easy task? Was it easier than you thought, or was it harder?
Yeah, way harder.
Yeah.
Way harder. Like, not that it compromised any certain, anything with regards to the athletes. Not that, I mean, and none of them, they're all like, we wouldn't have known any different. Like, I had a pretty good conversation with them all post show and was just like, I really appreciate, like, the way you guys kind of interacted with me being kind of a part of that process as well. Because it's probably a strange thing to, especially for Lee and Reese in bodybuilding, going up against your,
Yeah.
and then, even Lee. I almost was like, fuck this when I was second and Lee was third. Um, but it was like none of them had any kind of hesitation or felt like they weren't, being serviced in the way that they always would have been. But in terms of myself, like just probably the pressure I place on myself to uphold the standard was probably the most challenging thing. And just the timing of it all. Like, I'd be waking up at, 4 a.m. to start peaking that whole seven until probably 6 or 7 a.m., depending on what times they start their day. Then I'd be taking pics for Dean. Then I'd be uploading those. Then I'd be listening to his feedback. Then I might have questions from the athletes that I've got to get. So my whole first part of the day for 7 days in a row was just, or essentially 10 for some of them, peaking them from 10 days out, was just this constant push and pull between myself and themselves. And I probably, in terms of sanity and enjoyment of the week, like everyone's like, oh, peak week, this enjoyable thing. It was just stressful. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't present. And then the day was like I said before, was probably nowhere near as present as I would have liked to be if it was just myself.
Yeah.
But I think so much more satisfaction out of their success. Like, for instance, fucking, Reese was on stage for Classic, and I was supposed to be going out for True Novice, and Brownie had to come run and get me, being like, "You're going out in like 2 minutes," and I hadn't pumped up. I
Yeah.
hadn't. I thought I was like 45 minutes out. I hadn't had my freaking food that I was supposed to have right before that Dean had programmed, and that's kind of like the stuff that just wouldn't happen if it was just me and like an overseas show or something like that. So, um, but yeah, it was in terms of the whole week. I said to Dean, like, it's never something I'll ever do again. Like, I will never ever do that again. But I'm so happy that I was able to do it if I had to, and all the athletes looked their best. Um, but yeah, and then the show day itself was just a whole nother, kettle of fish, just crazy backstage, trying to like remember my timings and theirs and whatnot. But yeah, probably at the end of the day, like standing on stage in novice with myself placing first, Reese placing third, and Jack, who was a junior, placing second, and then having the Crabtree Performance logo in the background, all Crabtree Performance team was probably the most fulfilling fucking feeling I've ever had. Regardless if I was third or whatever
Yeah.
it was just crazy. And the whole crowd screaming like Crabtree Performance crew and stuff, and it was nutty. Yeah, and there's pictures of it too, so it's worth it for those moments, but it's not something I would advise to do.
In terms of the future, I know your season is going to continue. Like I don't know exactly. We obviously haven't chatted about what shows you're exactly doing, but I know that you're not doing nationals, of course, as well. I know you said you've got a massive weekend anyway over there. So is that kind of the goal in future seasons as well for yourself? Is just to kind of just solely do overseas condition shows?
Yeah, well, so I'm moving, well, like tentatively moving to the UK for 2026. I'll be
Yeah.
back in Oz for the seasons for season A, B, and C. But I'm gonna try and kind of assimilate into London and spend some time there for the year. And it's always something I've wanted to do, to be in
Yeah.
Europe and have the access to the rest of the world.
Yeah.
And I'd shoot myself if I didn't do it. So if I can get a visa there and kind of I do enjoy it, then I'd probably towards maybe the back end of 2027 jump into a show just when I'm ready and compete there. I would love to come back and compete in Oz. It would just have to be if there weren't like a bunch of, one or two is okay, but yeah, a 13, 14 in a season. I obviously had Liam overseas as well through the whole process, and then Bodine in New Zealand. So in total, there's with natural, like with ICN as well, there's 16 athletes competing for season C-ish for this
Yeah.
time for CRABTREE performance. So just something I'll never align myself with again at that time. But I also was like, I need to just fucking do it because it when's the right time,
Yeah.
So
It's one of those things where I suppose you prove to yourself that you can do it now, and
Yeah.
it's a process that you can walk away and say that you've done.
But
And
that,
you
if you don't mind, Josh, I just want to know, like, because you might not have an objective figure, but how many do you think you'd be able to take on in a season that you were competing in as well yourself? Like, obviously, you said you've got like 16 or 17, probably a few too many. Like, is there a number that you'd probably want to cap it at for next time if
in
it does
terms of if I was to compete myself at the same time,
Yeah.
if it was the same show, I think I could do this. I could do the seven again, but I'd probably say no more than like myself and two in the same show. And then in the same season, say like the nationals combined, probably if I was to compete in it, no more than like five, and that'd be like a 2-day nationals where there's like two or three girls
yeah,
and guys on each day. Any more than that, I just don't think it's conceivable. Like it's doable, but you compromise yourself. Like there was parts of the week, obviously, like I wasn't sleeping as I should have been, and
yeah.
you know, it was tough. But yeah, to be at the level where I wouldn't have to compromise myself, probably like the 2 to 5 range.
Mm.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of um, in terms of moving to the UK, how long have you wanted to do that? I know you're a fan of the UK anyway.
Yeah, so I'm gonna head over. So pretty much when I head to Japan for the amateur is when I've like ended my lease in Sydney and I've wrapped up all kind of like the affiliation with Oz. So I'm pretty much gonna like it's been something I've wanted to do since I did it in 2018, but I'm pretty much just gonna hobby build and travel through kind of November through to kind of February,
Yeah.
then settle in London and then get into kind of a growth block from there. So I'd probably ideally, I mean, if I love it and never want to leave, I doubt. It'll probably be like similar to moving to Sydney. Like I'll probably spend a couple years if I do enjoy it and then go somewhere else. But yeah, probably 26, 27 would be like as long as I'd expect to be in London or the UK, and
Yeah.
uh, yeah, then either come back to Waz or head somewhere else.
It'd be cool to do shows over there as well.
Yeah, it would be. That's I think just the whole like I really like that culture in the UK
Yeah.
of bodybuilding and stuff and whatnot. And then like I said, the access to the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. And even if I could, easier said than done, but if I could find a way to kind of crack into the UK coaching scene and
You will, bro,
Yeah.
without a doubt.
it'd be really nice. Like there's a few athletes I've got over there that don't kind of have a ton of social media, but just like obviously Dean being in Europe and I've had a good few chats with Joe Jeffrey and whatnot and Bridgman and stuff like that. So it would be nice to kind of jump in there a little bit, but we'll see how it goes.
It's one of those things, I suppose you'll just kind of acclimatize to the place, you know what I mean? Like you'll naturally probably pick up people in there that will see you training in the gym and I suppose your social media reach will probably get pushed a bit harder over there for those guys as well. So they're naturally going to see all your stuff that you're posting, which is it's going to be a little weird like experiment to see how well, that kind of goes over there and see how much exposure you do get to those.
Obviously, Cuba's with Dean as well, so I'm going to head
Yeah.
up to Rotherham and train there for a few times. And there's obviously a mates with George as well, who's obviously coach. So it's like it's a good kind of base where I don't feel like I'm completely alone. Like I do have contacts there, and George is a good mate, so that's cool. But yeah, it will be interesting. I think more so if I have that. Like I love it as a destination to stay at for a month. It's how I'll feel once it's cold and once it's wet and once it's if I can still find the enjoyment in it. But I do think like even speaking to Kyle Raggio, who's been there for a little bit, like he's thoroughly loving it.
Yeah.
Even just training at Muscle Works or going down to King's Gym in London, and it's just I think it's just a more not that Australia isn't, but it's more of like a raw kind of just get in culture rather than like kind of an influencery
Yeah.
kind of culture, which is suits me. Like so, I'm
It's a bit more rough.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a bit more like honest.
Yeah. Yeah. It's very raw, very raw. But I feel like they're all like that over there anyway, for the most part.
Yeah,
It's fucking expensive over there, though, from
Is it
what I've
really?
it is. Yeah, I mean Sydney's pretty fucked, but London's
Yeah.
definitely. But also, I'm paying for access to be able to go to Spain in 2 hours rather than having to
Yeah,
spend
100 bucks.
3 days traveling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It'll make all the difference whenever you start doing travel like that for sure.
Yeah.
That'd be,
So,
man, that'd be so good.
in terms of your previous preps,
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm pretty sure I've told you this before as well, and I'm pretty sure Jake's the same. But back in the day, I remember watching your like OG YouTube videos, like back in the
Yeah.
day, and it was
I've
so
known
funny.
Taylor since I was like 15 years old.
But it's weird because like you never thought that it would obviously like even me like never thought it would obviously turn out the way it did.
Yeah.
But back then you were obviously like to me, being a bit younger, I was like, fuck, this guy's huge. Um, but you've obviously had a few How many preps have you done before this one now?
Well, I did. So in terms of just like prep slash dieting, I did when I was 17. I did a little fucking horrible diet for a photo shoot with Studio. So there was that,
Yeah. I
which
remember that
eventuated.
photo shoot.
Yeah, bro, eventuated. Can you believe that was at the Arnold's in 2016?
Yeah.
I stood out the front with no shirt on while all my daughters walked past. I wouldn't even do that now. I
Nah,
would not
no
do that now.
way.
And then I prepped in 2019 into 2020 with a different coach.
Yeah,
That was kind of the horrible one in terms of just like the execution of the prep and what I was being asked to do and implement. Then got with Dean after that in the
yeah,
back end of 2020. And then the 2023 prep was the one with the heart.
yeah.
Um, and then this one,
Wow.
like 10 months.
I respect the the persistency of continuing to push through even with everything that's happened because I know that last one we obviously had a chat not
Yeah.
long. I remember after that and it was a bit of a rude kind of shock to you, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just because I've always been someone who's been like so hyper focused on health and like I don't hold my identity to my physique, so I'm not trying to retain this condition or this size or whatever it may be like year round. Like I really am happy to let my health come to fruition and my physique kind of drop off a little bit
Yeah,
um, as a result. But yeah, for them to be feeling as good as I did in prep and have really no signs other than just like intuition that something didn't feel right, and then that to eventuate into, oh, you've got this genetic defect that you've had since birth. It hasn't been like playing all through my sporting years in footy and stuff at like your heart working at 55% was a bit of a shock.
Was
And
that,
then
sorry to interrupt. Was that picked up via an echo? Was it?
yeah, so I essentially just felt kind of off in terms of just like my timing of things, my reaction to things, even just like the thoughts that I could generate in updates for athletes and stuff. I was just like, I just feel kind of like I'm in those like first couple of days of cleanse, but all the time. And
Mm.
I was like, I don't know what's going on. So I just went to the GP and she did the old like whatever stethoscope to the heart and was like, oh, there's like sounds like there's a bit of arrhythmia, like you have a little bit of like an irregular heartbeat. We'll send you to the cardiologist, and they did that, and then it just snowballed from there into like what the fuck is going on. So it was every single test they could possibly do and
yeah,
measurement they could possibly do, and yeah, it ended up being essentially it's called aortic stenosis, which is basically you're born or supposed to be born with two valves, obviously, like left ventricle, right ventricle. That right ventricle is basically split into two, and you have three, and it kind of doesn't allow for that optimal flow of blood through the heart or to the heart. And then it just basically kind of compounds all those other. Like if I was 45, it probably would have been a big issue, not 24, but we weren't sure like how much the prep was kind of conducive of making this worse or what the rate of, progression of it was. So Dean just essentially was just like, look, let's just call it. Let's just call it. If we stop it, and if it's not, impacting the heart, we know you can prep later. And if it is, then we know that we need to get in and get it, sorted early. So
yeah.
Mm. Have you had to, since obviously discovering this issue, have you had to change your approach majorly?
yeah, so I had literally essentially the equivalent of open heart surgery um, in about 6 weeks after that diagnosis. They obviously would technically usually go through like the middle of you and leave you with a big fucking scar. And I ended up just going through the groin, and they kind of like weave their way in there up to your heart. So that was the whole process of recovery for about 8 months afterwards. So realistically, from August 2023 to April 2024 was like, just doing as little as I could. I mean, when I got out of, I did a podcast with Dean the other week, and I think it's getting released, but I was saying, like, I remember saying to him, I could walk backwards easier than I could walk forwards. Like, even those like small manipulations with your heart, like I couldn't talk properly, I couldn't formulate sentences properly just because you just have your whole system, your whole central nervous system is just completely disaligned from them playing with your heart at all.
Yeah.
So it was a pretty big, because I was like going into it going like, oh, I'll be back in the gym in like a couple of weeks, and I'll just be doing some light stuff, and I'll be engaged in the process again. And then it ended up being 7, 8, 9 months of me just trying to hold on to whatever.
Fuck.
All right, man. I had no idea.
Yeah, so I didn't really talk about it too much. Like, I think the people like know, or people that have shown kind of, I guess, a deeper interest, like know that there was like something wrong with the heart. But you don't want to be that fucking dude. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
I also didn't want people to think that this was anything that Dean had ever like done or caused. And obviously it absolutely wasn't. It was a genetic thing, and it wasn't actually even, we ended up finding out like it wasn't actually even getting worse as a result of the prep. But it was something that needed to be addressed. Otherwise, it probably could have at some point, ended up in a stroke, or something that wasn't, like, it would unravel very quickly. Um, so yeah, if people ask, I'm happy to kind of be open about it, but I'm not out here being like, oh, heart surgery, I came back from the,
Mm.
Yeah. It's not one
But
of those things.
did they put like an artificial valve in, or did they kind of just
No,
bleed?
so basically the tissue was still young enough and organic enough, I guess, is what they said, to repair. But usually the the actual like discovery of these things is either it wasn't genetic from birth, or it's been caused by something to do with whether it's obesity or something, and they can't, it's not young enough where they can repair it, so they have to essentially create that, or that valve through, I actually don't know, like artificially, obviously,
Yeah.
but they were able to just like repair the actual tissue itself. So that was like a huge, it would have been a much worse and much more intricate recovery if it was an artificial valve. And then it would have been now something that I was probably still having to monitor like as closely as anything else,
Yeah.
if it was artificial. So I was lucky in that sense, because most 24-year-olds, 25-year-olds aren't going into the cardiologist being like, I think there's something wrong with my heart. So, and it could have been something, even the doctors and whatnot, they were like, you could have had this for the next 11, 12 years and not known, and it just compounded worse and worse. But I was just like, fuck it, let's just get in and fix it, and then it'll be done.
It's one
But
of
this
those
is
things, I suppose.
a really, I was going to say, it's a rare scenario of bodybuilding actually potentially extending somebody's life as opposed
Yeah,
to.
I was going
yeah,
to say, I feel like we're also hyper fixated on making sure everything's okay. Like it's one of those things where it probably did you more good, you know?
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. I mean, even with like now having been able to get on stage and display the physique, I think it all happened for a reason where, like, yes, I prepped for the last whatever 9 or 10 months, like intermittently earlier on, and then like from 20 weeks out was actually like properly just dieting. But it felt like I almost had a little bit of a cheat code where I'd had like three preps into one, and that was the physique that was displayed as a result of three rather than one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a nice feeling, but yeah, it was pretty crazy in 2023, that's for sure.
When did Crabtree Performance kind of pop off?
Um, so it was. Hold on one sec. I think I'll grab my chair. I think Lily and Kate are done. Bro, look what I'm sitting on.
Oh man, crazy.
I didn't know that he was dealing with that degree of.
Yeah, I didn't
I,
know it was that bad.
that's
I knew
crazy.
there was an issue, but I didn't know it was that bad.
Nuts.
Full on a open heart surgery. Well, close enough.
I know.
Up the
Going-
nut
I
surgery.
feel like going through your groin is weird. How the fuck do they do that?
I know that's insane, hey?
Be so technical.
Science and medical. It's fucking crazy.
He's got himself a chair.
No, I'm back.
Yeah, when did Crabtree Performance kind of start popping off and taking off? It's
Um,
getting really, really busy for you.
yeah, so well, I initially created Taylor Crabtree Fitness as like a way to promote myself. That would have been like 2016. That was when, the YouTube you guys were talking about, that was kind of that. And I just would work with or coach like footy mates that wanted to just grow a little bit of muscle. And not that I had any sort of significant, it's funny, like the thing that I probably was most educated in back then was PEDs, but I was not coaching anybody with pharmacology. I was just super interested in it. Like I'd be sitting in history class and just reading everything I possibly could around pharmacology, just because I'm like, oh, you can unlock this fucking superhuman ability to fucking be huge and be strong and be. But yeah, so it kind of was like 2017, 2016 when I started that, and then I went full time. I basically swapped it over or changed it per se to Crabtree Performance probably about 6 months before I ever put an athlete on a bodybuilding stage, which was 2021 season B
Yeah.
bikini. And yeah, so 2021, and then I went full time basically a year later in 2022. And it probably didn't feel like it was a success or anything that the industry or you guys, probably would know about until maybe like mid 2023, probably when like we started to have success with like Jeremy winning the overall and Liam winning the overall in SA and you know just the kind of fortunate ability to kind of work with those individuals
I
and then it
said that's pretty accurate. I remember that season, and I remember like
yeah.
that's when I started used to kind of started popping up a bit more.
Yeah, yeah. So probably around 2023 is probably when I feel like, oh, I can actually be someone who's of some, I guess, like success or stature within the industry from a coaching standpoint, feel like even I was saying on the podcast I did with Ryan Underwood, I would be at the shows and be backstage with the coaches, and it would be like Scotty would just kind of look at me like this little kid, like, what's this fucking dude doing here? And now we like shake hands and have a chat, and it's good. But yeah, I felt very out of place for a while, but probably 2023 was when I was like, no, I deserve to be back here. Like I've had some success and I know what I'm doing, I suppose.
It's good, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking, and then it's just popped off over the last year and a bit, even more.
Yeah, honestly, like it's just I say to everyone, like you obviously have to have the knowledge and passion and education, but I have been so fortunate with timing and I've been so fortunate with the people that I've been able to work with, like the Liams, the Morgses, Jeremys. Like they're all at a certain point where they came to me and I was at a certain point where I was going forward and it's just kind of like really good and lucky timing and obviously like Kristen as well and Emma and stuff all it was just there's a lot of luck involved, that's for sure, and I'm not it's not lost on me either.
I think that's, but I think more than that is why I think that you can tell that you care about it as well. And I think that's like more than education, as far as I'm concerned. I think that's the best trait of a coach, and I think if a coach cares enough to want to figure out answers and get someone to be the best they can be, I think that's when things will really start taking off for someone because not necessarily straight away, but I mean more so from the point of that's like people pick up on that, and athletes can clients can pick up on that, and when they do, I think that's when it starts to shine through a lot more, especially when you start putting athletes on stage. You can tell that you care about it.
I had that exact conversation with Liam. We were just kind of sitting at Starbucks in Bangkok, and I was like, "Why did you like seek?" Obviously, I was coaching Kristen, and they were together at the time, so there was again that luck involved in knowing someone. But I think he basically summarized it really accurately in that like he could feel how passionate I was, and he knew that like this person, if they don't know, which they may not, is going to learn for me because they're so passionate about that.
Yeah.
Like it is just that. Like I love the development and love being and having that responsibility to work with these people that are just like putting their faith in you to guide them to where they're going. And even Liam recently, being able to see that progression from when we began, the conversations I was having with him was stop being such a fucking influencer. You can be a phenomenal bodybuilder and that will portray influence in and of itself. And to see him now over in Asia, placing in fucking, regionals and pro qualifiers against some pretty incredible, quality. It's yeah, basically what he said has come to fruition, where it's just come through that care and passion to almost like I love what I do and I have a lot of passion for it, but it's also more so probably the responsibility I feel like,
Yeah.
holy shit, like I'm responsible for guiding this person. I better fucking know if I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had the same conversation not long ago, Josh.
Yeah.
Exact same thing. The
Yeah.
exact same. It's like that is the best quality of a good coach is somebody who truly cares about the client and their journey, not just the result, but the entire journey and process along the way, and educating them and teaching them of how to do it and do it correctly for as long as possible.
It's
And I feel like that is shown through your social media, not even just by what you post, but by what your clients post. And you can feel that from your clients' posts about you.
Yeah. I
It's
think
it's a huge reflection on you as a coach, man. It says more than anything else could, really.
I think it's a lot of again like environment, right? Like I grew up playing sports and basketball and footy, and I always had great coaches that were not only trying to teach you how to be the best at what you were doing with regards to the sport, but also be the best, humble, considerate team player, team oriented athlete, and develop that psychology of person. Like you're going through formative years as well, so they really want to guide you to make smart decisions, whether it's, around partying or whether it's around, friendships and whatnot. So I've come from that industry where like I think that there's a lot of coaches that probably don't look at coaching within bodybuilding or physique development as something that's necessarily like a psychological responsibility. Whereas I've also then been young myself, so I've kind of been drawn to, or younger athletes or first timers were drawn to me, where I was almost forced to kind of engage in those like psychological development and athlete kind of development behaviors where that you do build that relationship because you are teaching them not only how to bodybuild and the foundation and the behaviors and how to progress, but also probably decisions that they should or shouldn't be making with regards to, their personal lives. And then, when they do end up in a position where, Liam's working full time for himself and living in another country, or Will Chamberlain or Bo or whoever it may be, they've completely changed their lives. They kind of are thankful to a certain extent, even though realistically they could have done that themselves, but you've just had a small part in it.
Yeah, it's a weird one as well. I have a few younger guys that I used to PT and they're on with me now, like even online. And it always used to kind of like take me back whenever I got like a kind of personal advice question. Like some stuff would be really deep as well, where we like, I've had instances where, been for a few walks of one because his dad's, in a spot where with his health where he's about to pass away. And it's like it's weird for me because I'm like this kid, trusts me enough, who's, only 4 or 5 years older than him, to have this like pretty intimate conversation with him. And I think like when these things kind of happen, it really does like kind of make me realize and dawn on me that fuck, like these people, like it's beyond, it's beyond
Bigger
just coaching.
picture. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I think the piece that you spoke about on having that background in the footy as well, man, like those coaches are the ones that you remember. The
Yeah.
teachers, the coaches, anything like that, people of authority that give you that belief in yourself or that can push you in the right direction. They play huge roles in people's, especially formative years, obviously, as a, playing footy and all that as when you're younger. But continuing on through this bodybuilding journey, it is a journey, exactly like it's a never-ending personal development journey. You have to learn all these psychology things, otherwise good luck being a bodybuilder long term if you don't understand how your mind works.
If you hadn't already developed them through like those formative years, you're almost forced to develop them, through like bodybuilding and just being kind of thrown into the deep end.
Yeah.
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 it's definitely something that I think people realize quite quickly, especially those that maybe come into the industry a little bit hot, come in a little bit hot and they're a little bit hot-headed and, maybe don't understand themselves. They very quickly find out about themselves whenever they're forced to go through, a pretty hard prep or whatever it may be as well. And I think it's a rude shock to some people, but it matters. It needs to be done. And I think people are better because of it.
Yeah. I think that because I was able to work with those younger athletes and almost forced to as a result of being younger myself, where I didn't necessarily have the belief of at that point the Jamie Skippens and the Lee, Newports that are competing now and working with me. Like I was like, oh, I'm working with these younger guys, so I was forced to develop that. But like it is something that I just genuinely fucking enjoy. Like, I think if I was to just have worked with these 35-year-old veterans that have been in the industry for so long from the start, I would probably, if I was to get those younger kids come on board and asking me those psychological questions or the need to develop them as an athlete, I'll probably be like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, this isn't part of the responsibility. Whereas because it was just from the get-go,
Yeah.
and because of that background in sports and how my coaches treated me and teachers developed me and stuff, it was just natural. And then I just enjoy it because I know the impact it can have, not only in, the physique development, but also just their life in general, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. It's definitely it's a big thing that I think it's not spoken about enough, you know. Um, in terms of in terms of this weekend, how many have you got this weekend?
Five. Yeah.
In
So I've
just
got,
Queensland?
yeah. So I've got Will,
Yeah.
Bo, Emma, Ash Robinson, who's backing up from season A, which is incredible effort,
Yeah.
and Evan, who's funnily enough, he's pretty much not really on social media whatsoever. He's a
All
real
right.
quiet guy. I just threw up a post of the team today at an athlete shoot. If you swipe through, he's a true novice, looks absolutely insane. But funnily enough, he's really close mates with Callum von Moger. They're like best
Oh,
mates
cool.
along, grew up together. So he's always wanted to compete and been in the industry, but yeah, he's like a 32-year-old true novice, and he looks fucking. He's got veins through his ass. That's for sure.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
fucking sick.
Damn.
Are they all kicking on to do nationals as well?
yeah. I'm pretty sure all of them will. Yeah,
Yeah, cool.
yeah,
It's exciting, man.
and then a couple to Japan as well, which will be cool.
That's great. How far is Japan from here?
It'll be 8 weeks from nationals, I think, 7 or 8. Yeah, it's a bit
Oh,
of a time, but they're all in a position probably to spend a little bit of time reversing out of nationals, and then
yeah.
from about 4 to 5 weeks, kind of diving back into it.
Are
So
you're doing nationals, aren't you?
myself,
Yeah.
nah, I'm not doing nationals.
Oh, so are you done for the season or are you?
I still need to have a bit of a deeper conversation with Dean about it, but it would either be I was originally going to do Korea the week after with Liam, which was the week after nationals, but we've dived straight back into the off season for him. So I'm not doing that anymore, and it's just like let's see how I manage going to New Zealand, going and leaving Australia and packing up because I got to move stuff and do all that. So I'm still going to be dieting, still going to be in prep essentially like with the behaviors, but it's just yeah, once I have that conversation with Dean and see what he thinks with regards to then after Japan. But if it is the end of the prep, I've taken more than I could have ever desired out of it from a personal perspective with regards to even just the essay show. Like I think there was like 40 to 50 of whether it was friends or family or athletes that kind of work with or around creative performance. It was kind of like a dream. So I wouldn't be upset, but yeah, it would be nice to kind of fine tune a few things and be able to kind of be a little bit more ingrained in my own process than everyone else's. But it'll come like that was one thing that I've got from not being able to get up on stage for so long is fucking patience. Like if it has to be 3 years,
Yeah.
I'm that. I
Who
waited
would-
11, I can wait three.
Yeah.
What is the dynamic like between you and Dean? Like, is it just a simple fact of he calls the shots, I just execute, or do you guys collaborate to a degree? Like, how does that kind of dynamic
I
work?
think it's changed over the years. I think we have a really good personal relationship where I think we're similar in interests and whatnot. He's definitely a little bit more, I guess, direct than probably I am. Obviously through his work, but I think that when I first came on board as a 21-year-old in 2020, it was very much like, do this, this is the best outcome. And he would always explain as to why, which I really appreciated, like really in depth and a lot of his, not that has ever tried to be, or I've asked him to be a mentor, but like you would know, like the way in which he communicates and the standard he upholds, it just kind of inherently shapes how you want to do things or strive to do things. So I've been really lucky in that aspect. But I think over the years, with regards to like we're both really into travel and whatnot, and I think we have similar thoughts on things that we've been able to kind of create a really good friendship as a result. Where it's still like if he says to me, do this, you fucking idiot, like I'll do it.
Mm.
But in terms of there's definitely like a more of a how do you feel about this, or what are your thoughts on this, moving forward. So it's kind of a little bit nuanced, but it's definitely probably more these days. Not a collaboration because I still would listen to any and do anything, but there's definitely more of my own involvement, I suppose. I think he also has that trust and know that I'm not completely retarded with my own coaching, so it helps. Yeah.
Because you've been, how many years have you been working under him now for?
It would, I think we just clocked like 280 weeks, so like 5.5 years or something. Yeah.
I mean, I think for any client, if you've been coaching them for 5 years, there will be a slowly increasing scale of like
Yeah.
a collaboration, if you like.
Yeah. Even
But
with my own
yeah,
guys like Liam and Morgs and stuff, been
yeah,
working with me for years. It's very much that way. So,
for sure.
but also like he has kind of, I've almost grown up with him to a certain extent. Like I was 20, 21, and now I'm 27. Like he's watching the development of a person, and I'm watching the development of him as a coach. That when I said it to him on the podcast, like I like the fact that I got in when he was Dean McKillop, who works for or coaches at Flex Success. Now he's like Flex Coach Dean, like
Yeah.
he's Dean McKillop, and there's almost that bandwagon. I'm like, I was in there before that.
I
Um,
wasn't. I was. I don't think I was too much further behind you. I think it might have been like a year behind you. I think I've been with him for five. Yeah, it'd be 5 years now for me as well. I think, or
yeah,
4 years.
it's a nice feeling to know you had that, but that belief back then. But I think that I just really aligned with the way he kind of talked about life rather than like or the person he was rather than like how he coached. Like obviously I came from a prep that was the opposite of smarter and hard, like smart and hard. It was more like just do it for the sake of doing it. So when I saw that from Flex, I was kind of like, yeah, that works. And then he's just seemed like a really good dude and a little bit of like a earlier on it was very much like fatherly vibes, and now it's more so like really close mate vibes that also can tell you to fucking put your glutes on or you're going to be in last call out.
Yeah, no, you need to
Yeah,
be told sometimes.
yeah,
I suppose you guys probably have a similar relationship with him, really, as well. Because I know, Tom, you talk to him quite a bit outside of coaching as well. Hey,
Well, yeah, he's a mentor for me as well. I mean,
yeah,
I'll speak to him every couple of weeks or so, and he's helping me out with some of my clients this season, and has done so in previous seasons. And I'll continue to seek his help for future preps because there's always more to learn, and obviously I look up to him as I'm sure you do, Taylor. So he's just an endless avenue of knowledge,
yeah.
and
He is just yeah. I
he
like I said in that post with the one I did about competing the other day, where I kind of wrote that like letter to everyone. Like I could not verbalize how appreciative or how lucky I am. Not only how it's shaped my coaching, which has then shaped my life, but also just like there are so many athletes, and you guys would know this, that unintentionally involve themselves with individuals or coaches who are seeking to just benefit themselves and not the athlete at all. And they almost fall out of the industry because they've just accidentally fallen into the lap or the environment of someone who is like not a good person. And
yeah.
there's so much of that. So for me to have kind of fallen into Dean's lap in a way and jumped on with him, I feel like, I've won the lottery.
I feel the
Well,
same.
yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry, I was going to. He always speaks about the number one trait as a coach that every good coach should have is genuine care. And
Yeah.
I think it's easier said than done. You've either got it or you don't. And those that don't, they don't last very long.
Yeah.
Like they'll come and you'll be like, oh, if this coach is the next thing, the next best thing since fucking sliced bread. And then 12 months later, they're gone because people see that they don't really give a fuck.
Yeah.
Whereas Dean obviously does. And yeah, everything that I do is almost in the same kind of idea of me wanting to emulate the level of service that he gives me and he gives other clients for all my clients. And I think a lot of that just comes down to the fact that he doesn't overextend himself by taking on 150 to 200 clients because let's face it, if you've got 150 to 200 clients, unless you've not got a life, you're probably not going to be able to give everybody a good quality service.
How can you have personal relationships with 150 people? Like you just can't. And I feel like Dean has a pretty good relationship to a certain nuance level with every athlete he has, or at least attempts to, and values that part of the service. 'Cause it just makes the job that much more enjoyable when you can have that certain. You don't have to be best friends with every athlete you coach, obviously. Like you have different morals and ethics and whatnot and values, but if you can have a certain common understanding with the athletes you work with, it just makes it that much more enjoyable. And that's impossible to do with 100, 150, 200. They're just numbers by that point. And
Yeah.
we all know the coaches who do that. And, it doesn't eventuate to success. It just eventuates to quantity, which is financially successful for a very short period of time. And then it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You'll have one athlete out of 10 that are absolutely nailed and the rest, you
And
don't feel that.
nobody seems to notice the nine that look like shit, but they notice the one that looks like good. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that one that looks good is a freak of nature.
And they would have been good under anyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Anyone could have coached them to a good level.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think Dean probably gets enough, not that he seeks it ever. He probably avoids it, to be honest, but I don't think he gets enough credit for the quality and the reputation he has in the industry worldwide, and not being someone who's kind of like fed into their own ego. Because I've seen so many coaches go that way, where they do have that success. He's working with Olympians, for fucking Christ's sake. Like, he could very easily be like, "Why are you asking me this? You should know this." He doesn't, don't take the time to explain. Don't take the time to chat. Don't take the time to ask about your day or your life. And he still
Yeah.
is same person from 2020 that just is so passionate about their athletes, when he could probably get away with not being so he's a fucking phenomenal individual.
I think that rubs off on both of you guys as coaches, and then even trickles down to your guys' clients as well. Because I know for a fact that my level of coaching services has definitely improved since, Tom working even closer with Dean. And it just upholds an even higher level of standard that you hold yourself to, as well as your clients. And then they begin to hold themselves to that as well.
I've said to Dean, like, I wish there was a tangible metric to measure how many people have been downstream benefited by his work at the
I,
top.
I was thinking that while you were saying that.
It's really like he's the top of the fountain, and it's just streamed out through the industry,
Yeah.
both Australia and internationally. Yeah.
Good.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of people.
There
Yeah.
needs to be more people like that as well.
I think Scott's very similar as well with that whole community. It's just that obviously, different trajectory of things and whatnot, but
You're
very much.
there as well, man. And you're one of them people as well in the industry. Like
Yeah.
you've really cemented yourself there, and it's just going to keep getting more and more. You're still so young, man. Like these other coaches, Scott, Dean, that have been around for fucking 20, 30 years, man. It's
That's
only
the
going to
thing.
get crazier. And
Just to keep slowly moving up with the success. But I've also been like with the athletes really lucky in that, like, I was saying this to Dean, I think a couple of weeks ago, where they've had that faith. If they haven't had that, I guess they've all progressed, right? But if they haven't had that inherent first place or second place, they've still had the faith to, we're going to get there, and it's a journey. And now, like, I feel like it's almost like a footy team where, they're a really young but talented group of athletes, and now we're building to that 27, 28, 29, 30 range, where they're all going to be starting to push for that, like, really high level success. Probably Liam in the next season, and Kristen in the next season, and Morgs and whatnot. And Jeremy, even, obviously.
But the thing is, clients need to understand, like this stuff doesn't just happen overnight. Like Taylor just said, staying with a coach, learning, both of you learning together, and going through these experiences is only going to make your relationship stronger as well. If you're jumping from coach to coach, I don't see how you're having a good relationship with that coach every single season. Like, it's just not happening. You're not building a personal relationship. On top of that as well, the coach is probably having to figure out your physique every single time you're jumping to a new one. At the end of the day, if you do season after season after season with the coach, and they are showing you that they care, they're showing you that they're learning as well, and there is progression there on that front. That coach has all the data from all of these years just gone. That is cumulative to continuous progression throughout all these years, and there is no way that as a result of that you're not going to succeed. Like, I'll use Maya as an example with Scotty. She jumped in that 22 season. They've done, this is her third season together now, and everybody can see the results of what that has looked like. And that's just one example that we could all find many.
Yeah, Liam is a perfect example of that. Like, we pushed him like crazy, and he was willing to, obviously, in his first prep to get peeled. Like,
Yeah.
he lost muscle. We just pushed him and pushed him and pushed him because he was just of that mindset. I want to be as peeled as possible. And I mean, even from a coaching standpoint, there's probably a learning curve back then where it's like, okay, I want the glutes in, but if that's going to cost the rest of the physique,
Yeah.
then maybe it's not of benefit.
Yeah.
But he was, there were periods of Liam's prep in that 2023 season where we were running through RFLs and whatnot for a couple of weeks at a time. And we actually had a conversation the other day. His average intake of carbohydrates for this 22-week prep was 560 versus that of periods at 80 or 40 in the previous prep. And that just comes from obviously his development, his execution in the off season, his consistency, but also my understanding of his physiology, his biology, and his
Yeah.
response to data and to stimulus.
Yeah.
And you don't get that if you're changing coaches every 5 seconds.
No.
No, because the natural inclination there for a first time prep is to almost overcompensate to ensure that that individual is in a deficit. And you've not had a chance to work with them in an off season, you don't really know exactly how extreme that deficit needs to be. And in this case, it obviously didn't need to be very extreme. Are you saying his average lowest intake of carbs was 500?
His average intake of carbs across the 24-week prep was 560. Yeah.
Oh, that means his lowest at any given point was what, like 300?
Yeah, probably about 335. Yeah. He probably went from 10 weeks out to about 6 was probably kind of doing the most work in terms of net energy deficit. And then probably from 4 weeks out, yeah, we were just refeeding. It was like we were reversing. Yeah, we were just refeeding into show and collecting data for the peak. And he got up. When he walked out, I just fell off my chair.
Yeah, phenomenal.
So that's what I was about to say. Like that rewarding feeling as a coach when your athlete walks out and you almost have to like pinch yourself to be like, holy fuck, like we did that together. And I just had that obviously on the weekend with Jayke and a few other, the rest of my clients. We had 4 in total. And that feeling as a coach is extremely comparable to the feelings that I've had as an athlete in the past when things have gone impeccably well on show day.
Yeah.
And that's what I was going to ask you today. Like, what do you think is more difficult, being a coach or being an athlete?
Difficult for what particular?
Yeah, there's a whole can of worms there. Like, okay, generally speaking, without going into specifics, like what do you think is more challenging and what demands more from you in terms of,
Coaching.
yeah,
100% coaching. I think that my own athlete-centric behaviors are pretty autonomous, whereas the coaching, especially the pressure of making sure that Liam or whoever is having that development and is then getting up on stage in the position. Like I spoke to Liam in the moment he got off stage and I said, regardless of placing, like what we were able to just do exceeded the conversation we had when you got off stage last time of what we were going to do.
Yeah.
It was so head and shoulders above, like world class in my opinion. Obviously, he still grow. He's still got 6 kilos to go into his cap, but like in terms of the condition, in terms of the shape, in terms of the presentation, his own energy on stage, his confidence. I was like, that exceeded my expectations. Then they were already huge when you got off stage last time, and then in this prep, but definitely, I place a lot more pressure on myself, and there's a lot more kind of intricate thought that goes into coaching than it does just my behaviors as an athlete.
Yeah.
well, if you're managing your emotions as an athlete, you only have to worry about one person.
Yeah,
If you're managing the emotions of 10, 15, 20 different athletes,
yeah.
going to far outweigh the one person that's yourself.
It's almost, I think that it can almost be, and it definitely was this prep where it was almost a little bit of a superpower in that not that you want to have to, you know, or you want athletes to be in a position where you need to manage their psychology to a significant extent if they're going through something. You don't want them to go through something, that's unnecessarily challenging. But because there is always that as a coach, and especially when you're working with younger athletes and they don't have those tempered expectations of what's going to occur or what they're going to feel. When I have athletes through this prep or whatever asking me those questions, I almost don't have time to think about how shit I feel or that I'm
Mm.
eating 150 grams of carbs, or that I have to do this. It's just do it
Yeah.
and focus on them. So it's almost like a blessing in disguise in a way.
Yeah.
I was going to say, did you find it particularly easy to coach some of these athletes through some of the, psychological battles that they were dealing with in prep because you were in prep yourself? or perhaps even it was easy for you to communicate, what they needed to do because perhaps you have already done it or are doing it right now?
I think I think the conversation I was having with Dean on the podcast was a little bit like because I thought going into prep, I'm like, I don't want to compromise my standard. I don't want to compromise my conversation. I don't want to compromise my efforts for the athletes. But I almost felt that I'd never coached better than being in prep myself because I knew that I had to be so time efficient. I was also in the process. I was feeling everything they were feeling. Not that I hadn't dieted or prepped before, but then also from a psychological perspective, like as we were saying before, like I've inherently gone through a lot of challenge in getting there and had finally now done so. But I have that kind of ability to, or have had a lot of experience in navigating my own psychology and emotions in those instances where I can kind of relate to, or those types of things and situations. So kind of both of those instances, yeah.
It's pretty cool because you were already a very good coach before this weekend. And now, having gone through it and experienced it and complete bodybuilding in a sense, like finally made it up on stage, it's only going to make you an even better coach.
Yeah, like I said before, it just is I knew that there was a fulfillment that I was guiding others to feel, and that feeling of getting on stage and representing a lot of work that they'd done, whether it's 200 weeks or 10 years or whatever it may be. But the feeling that I had up there myself, knowing that I'm able to help them feel that, only drives me to be even more passionate, even more educated, even more knowledgeable than I was before, which was already
Yeah.
as high as I felt it could possibly go. So that's the most enjoyable thing about me getting up there is like, oh shit, it feels this good. And I would have felt that way if I came 10th.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good on you, man. Well, I think we've taken up your hour.
That's so good. I could obviously chat to you guys for forever.
I know.
So,
Well, you're obviously you said you're in next Tuesday?
yeah, in next year. Are any of you guys up in the GC or not?
No.
No.
Maya's doing the show, but I'm not there. So
Yeah.
you'll see her up there.
Let me know if she needs anything, but I'm sure she'll have Scotty around and
Yeah,
whatnot.
Scotty's there. She's staying with her. Destiny's doing the show as well. So
Yeah, cool.
yeah. But
Okay. I'll catch you guys in Melbourne, and we'll catch up for after the show. We'll catch up for a bite or whatever.
for sure, I think I think there's something being organised for that Saturday night, fucking Yochi or something, so we can sort something out.
Yeah, I'm copping $30 worth if I'm not in prep anymore.
At this rate, we're going to have a crew of like 80 people rocking up for Yoshi. We're going to need 2 restaurants.
That's great.
My family's coming as well after dinner as well. It's going to be fucking everyone.
Beauty.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you for taking the time, man. I appreciate it as well. Look forward to having a proper catch up next week as well.
I'll see you guys from Tuesday onwards, and all the best with everything you guys are doing.
Do you shout, man? Good luck for this weekend.
Thanks, bro.
Thank you,
Crazy,
brother.
man.